Hello and welcome. My name is Richard Miller, and you're at Never Not Here. And we're going to do an episode of Open Mic, and I hope it'll prove interesting. And we're always looking at other people, and in a way, these days we like heroes, or we like someone that's really good at what they do. And somehow that's comforting, but in another way, maybe we don't really relate. We think, oh, this guy's so great. And we never really get the picture that, hey, that could be us maybe under certain circumstances. Why isn't, how are we different? Maybe that's what we're looking at. And so then we take inspiration too from great figures. And I don't know, the interest, what's the interest in it? The interest has to be that somehow we're human too. And maybe our life can go in that direction, or somehow, of course, we're always thinking of improvements. So maybe some happiness, or maybe some ability, or maybe some mental agility, or artistic ability, or somebody's an industrialist, or a good businessman, or help society, or philanthropists. There's so many things that we look at. And of course we look at winners too. Sports is all about having a hero and having somebody that we can look up to and maybe love, and sports figures are used too many times as advertising and as an example. Tiger Woods, or there's so many people that we look up to, and we want to hear the story of. We love biographies, and basically I think that's what we're going to talk about today, is that different stories somehow can inspire us, and some stories maybe more than others. We'll see what happens. So we're with Marisa Damele and now living in Ecuador. So welcome.
Hi, Richard, and thank you for inviting me to this conversation.
So we haven't done too many talks in South America, so this is our chance to go to Ecuador. But actually, you've lived a long time in Uruguay, is that correct?
Well, I am from Uruguay. We are from Uruguay, and I am living in Ecuador right now because I came to be close to my daughter, Catalina, and her family. I have 2 grandchildren. Yeah, that's the reason I am in Ecuador.
So kind of the reason we're speaking is really to talk about you and your life, and also your son. And your son is Mauricio
Saravia. Mauricio Saravia.
Right.
Yes.
And some people know him. He's known as an artist and a musician and a poet, and a man that in a way, I guess, led a troubled life, and had a perplexing childhood, and
Yes.
somehow he came out of that with inspiring ways to look at life, and not really to be overcome by some
Yes, exactly.
great problems that were obvious to everybody that could look at him. So that this is the
Yes.
inspiring thing that we've come to talk about.
Well, yes, he was born with a medical syndrome. It's a mutation.
It's a mutation, right?
Yeah, it's a genetic mutation. And he was born a beautiful boy, but the syndrome was inside him. It's a abnormal pituitary gland. It's very complex because the pituitary gland, as you say, controls all our glands, and the the color of your hair, the color of your skin, and your features, and the grow of the bones.
Yeah, especially your growth, right? Your growth is controlled by that.
Yes. Yes. So that gland that is in the middle of the brain, and it's almost impossible to reach, and they don't know much about it, as they don't know much about the whole brain, okay? That gland directs or guides the way your bones are going to grow. So he was born beautiful, and little by little, especially after 9, 10 years, he started changing his visage, his looks, you know. So it was very hard for him and for us, all the family who loved him, to see that.
Yeah, in other words, that somehow there was a wild growth. Something took over and just said, "Okay, I'm going to keep growing." And now I'm formed like everyone else, but now I'm going to keep growing and go bigger and bigger and bigger here and there, and really distort, you know. And so then, for most people, looks are like very sensitive about their looks. And and also his health was not very well with that, because when your bones get too big and go in the wrong direction, I mean, so many things go awry and so many rhythms get out of balance.
Yes, and you know, the problem is that this syndrome called McCune-Albright is so rare. It's like 1 in a million of births, that people don't know much about it. Most of the people don't even know it exists. So when strangers looked at him, and everything depends on the level of culture you have, or how ignorant is the person also, okay? When people looked at him, they were like shocked, most than anything else, because they didn't know what was wrong with him. Some people asked him, "Did you have an accident?" And I said, "No, I am like this."
Right. You say level of culture and level of acceptance, you know, which I think all of us, both our cultures and but just individually, as we grow up, have to go through a kind of a rejecting of differences. And thinking that, and here this was really extreme, you know. I mean, his back got to be hunchbacked, his face was oversized and not symmetrical. And I mean, these are the kind of things that they put in the movies when they're trying to make some shocking effects, you know. And then here it is, a real live person inside of there. It's not just a fake.
Exactly.
And so then naturally there's probably going to be a whole lot of teasing and rejection, you know. I mean, it must be horrendous level of that.
Yeah, since he was around 13, 14, he started suffering all kinds of rejection. And the way he accepted that, and the way he accepted everything in the life he had to live, for me, that I am his mother, for me it was amazing. I don't know if I could be able to accept things the way he did. And although he was changing in his exterior, inside he was the same small, beautiful boy. You know,
it's so amazing. Like what you're saying is like probably what we're talking about, and it's probably the whole conversation, is that this man and this boy also could accept these things. And I want to say another thing, that okay, he had something, some wild growth, something took over parts of his body and kept growing. And nowadays, at least in the West, I think 50% of the people have the same thing, and they call it cancer. But it's not so visible to people outside. And so then this, what we're talking about here, is so germane to today, that some wild growth can be inside of your body, and it can be a terrible thing that in the end it actually killed Saverio.
In the end, the condition killed him. Now,
Mauricio died at 39, right? And so
he died 1 month before becoming 39, which was a miracle, because doctors discovered the condition when he was 5, and they told me, we don't think he's going to live past 13. And he did. And then they said, we don't think he's going to live past 18. And he did. And then they didn't say anything else and said, okay, it's a miracle. And, we don't know how he can manage this, because it was a chronic pain. It was the physical pain and the emotional pain, because life was a challenge for him. Going out and facing people was a challenge for him, because he knew what there was inside him, and he wanted to express that and let people know that there was a beautiful person inside him. Now, there are some persons who say beautiful things about Mauricio, and they are really important ones. One of them is John Hepburn Ferrer, the son of Audrey Hepburn and Mel Ferrer. Well, he is the son of two icons in the world, not only in Hollywood, because who doesn't know them? And he's a very sensitive person, and after he knew Mauricio, he started making a lot of projects, because he realized that Mauricio loved children very much, and he was planning to visit hospitals, children hospitals, with Mauricio and encourage them. Let me tell you that small children loved him a lot, except when they were growing up and they were becoming adults. Then they saw Mauricio in a different way if they haven't met him before. But the little children loved him. Maybe they were not, programmed, mentally programmed to seek beauty.
Or to see deformity. They didn't really see the deformity, or because children just must relate with the sparkle that's inside and what's coming out.
Exactly.
And
they are more spiritual when they are little. And then the world, society, programs them that they have to look for beauty.
Yeah.
They have to look the exterior. And they are always receiving messages of judgment. Oh, he's fat, or... Well,
right, but it's more than that, it's more like that they just have to be something that they're not, and they're protecting what they really are, however that is. And they might even start thinking, we all, I don't have to say children, let's just say that this is a condition of mankind, like we're, in a way, we're so overlaid with images and ideas of how we should be, and curriculums in school, and what's supposed to be real knowledge and stuff, and we're always trying to approach that somehow. And who is it that just says, well, here I am, I'm actually kind of distorted, and I hurt a lot, and but somehow I just want to still make them, and more than that, the third thing is that I'm proud. They always keep telling me I'm not going to live very long, and so then from that, I want to really make something out of these precious moments. And
he knew
this
that.
is the,
He
this is the,
heard that.
right. Like this is the miracle, really, for me. This is the miracle that I want to ask you about, and how that developed. Because we're not trying to say Mauricio was some kind of genius precocious from a baby or anything. He might have been bright like another child, but somehow, even when he knew that he was distorted and he had a short life and he had a lot of pain and operations and all kinds of difficulties, he still was able to realize artistic instincts and really just kind of express himself necessarily without so much language, going into art first, maybe abstractions where he could just express himself in colors and shapes, and just let go with what was inside without trying to getting in the problems of exactly what it is these images that we're trying to chase after, and just keep those images aside and just go straight for this artistic, which a lot of people appreciated apparently, and he made a lot of acquaintanceships through his art and through his poetry, and then he got into a lot of music too, right?
Yeah, he made several tracks, actually 7 tracks of electronic music. He found 2 singers who wanted to perform his lyrics from the last poetry book, the Book of Whispers, and he completed a CD. He could compose a CD. Now, he tried everything. And that is because he loved life, he loved people, he loved art, and he wanted to express himself. So Sean Hebron Ferrer said it was amazing how after a few minutes of talking with him, the spiritual thing, the beautiful thing that was inside him made presence or appeared. And then you forgot about the rest.
Yeah, this is the amazing part, and I can get it. Of course, I've never met him. I never had the privilege or to meet him, and actually, I didn't hang out with a lot of really famous people that he did, but whether I would have ever crossed paths or not. But I mean, okay, here's what I see: that like sometimes we learn only by something really exaggerated. It really has to hit us on the head before we wake up to some things, right? And so here's Mauricio, and he's quite distorted, and really is kind of an image that we've been taught is an image of horror, really. And we know he's in pain, but somehow that's so extreme that we see the man without the container. In other words, we realize that man is not that container. I mean, and this is what we're always trying to do in some kind of a spiritual search, or trying to find when we're in a faith-based community or something like that. We're really trying to find the man without the container being the body. And with Mauricio, I think it was just obvious. It would just pop on people that would come up and see him and have a couple of words with him, and they say, well, this form is not what's talking to me. Or my idea of what this form would be, all my ideas kind of crashed about this form of pain, and I realized that there's still something beautiful and wonderful that's animating this Mauricio character, and that's really kind of what we want to get to and kind of talk about and see and get some experiences of it, because that is like that is really an opportunity.
Yeah, and I would add that he had a very special sense of humor. He loved joking with friends, and he loved going out at night with his friends, going to dance clubs. He would dance. He was in pain, chronic pain treatment, all prescribed by doctors, okay, since he was 22 or 23. And well, he would go to a dance club and dance. And a few minutes later, there would come the 2 or 3 beautiful girls, and I don't know why they would go approach him and start dancing with him. So some friends of him would come back home and tell me, you know what, I don't know how he manages, but I was against a wall on a corner, and he was in the middle of the dancing room, surrounded by 3 beautiful girls dancing with him.
I don't know. Is that a comment on Uruguay? Is Uruguay a special open place where people can do their thing? Or, you know, like when I grew up, I was afraid to dance. I was afraid to move, you know, and all of us would laugh at people and say, "Yo, you don't know how to dance." And I mean, we were totally into non-acceptance. And I don't know if Uruguay is a special open society where people have a big heart, or...
It's a very nice lifestyle country. People love night in Uruguay. And there are a lot of dance clubs. And they don't close at 2 o'clock a.m. as in North America. They are all night open. So if you want to stay until the sun comes out, you know, you can stay there and then go out. And some people go to a cafeteria, which is just opening, and have breakfast and then go home. Yeah, it's. I think in the Caribbean is kind of that life. Now, when he went to Denver, he was very surprised because dance clubs close at 2 a.m.
Oh, yeah, that's already late, you know. Yeah. But anyhow, you know, so maybe part of the miracle of Mauricio, and part of the miracle of him accepting himself and being able to just find art and find music and find his own soul and find pleasure in relationships with other people. Part of that is you, part of you, or that is you, and part of that is Uruguay.
I don't know, and then I would say the family too, because the whole family loved him, and we never discriminate him, or we never try to make him feel down for anything. He went through 8 major surgeries. He lost his left eye, his left side, because the eye was there, but he couldn't see from his left eye at 5. So the other eye, it seems, adjusted and expanded its field, and he could see almost normal, and that's how he painted and drew and made photography, and I don't know, a lot of things. And in 2 occasions, during 2 surgeries, he was dead, and the doctors brought him back to life.
He was dead. You said he was dead. Let me just emphasize that.
Yeah, he was dead. He was dead. And the doctors brought him back to life. The last one was when he was 18. And after that experience, he came back different. He was, although he was 18, he was not very grown up socially, you know, and many times he lived like a small boy. But after that experience, he came back changed. And you could see that he was very courageous, and he started to go out and face people and trying to conquer people, trying to
win them over. So in a way, in other words, to seduce them
yeah,
and get them to see
exactly.
who he really was.
Yeah, that's the word. And well, about the 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 way his inside came out, I would like to say that there is a coach and counselor called Bruce Hall who never met Mauricio, but we got in touch with him thanks to an internet, and he started searching on Google and YouTube and watching everything that was of Mauricio, short films and websites, everything. And I don't know how he could write a text, and he made a blog online about how Mauricio would feel. So he wrote it in first person, and some of his friends contact me and say, wow, it's like if Mauricio were talking. It's amazing. So it's like he channeled Mauricio or something like that. I don't know.
Wow, that's really, really fascinating. Let me ask you one question before we get too far away from when his operation when he was 18 and he was brought back to life on the operating table. And then he came back and you said he was very changed. Did he ever speak about what he saw? You know, like we talk about people that had near-death experiences and that they actually went into some kind of a spiritual insight, or he never really spoke about that?
No, he never spoke about that, but the change was notorious. Okay, there was a big change in his personality, in his attitude. So sometimes afterwards, when I was trying to make him rest because he started painting short time after the surgery, and after that surgery where he was there, he started painting. It was a little because I advised him. He was making portraits, and it was kind of boring for him. And he said, I want to go on doing art, but making portraits, it's kind of boring for me now. And I said, why don't you start painting? He said, I never took a class. And I said, you never took a class for drawing either. So start painting. And so he started, and he started writing first before painting. He started writing. And sometimes I got concerned because he was working too much. He learned computers, he was making graphic designs and websites and posters and all that. And I said, you are working too much. Take a rest. He said, you know, I feel that I have a mission and I don't have much time. That's what he told me. So, and that was the same the rest of his life. You know, he was always like anxious, in a hurry, trying to get this and get that, and I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's even for me, it was kind of strange. And I was his companion in life and his assistant, and I had to be controlling him so he could have rest. You know?
So he'd have rest, and so he had plenty of energy, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
One time you told me something really interesting when, in our conversations. You said he knew how to use the fact that people would look at him, and somehow he could use that. He learned how to use that, and use it to raise people's interest and to make new acquaintances, right?
And with good intentions, of course, and for good reasons. Because when an independent producer came and offered him to make a documentary film that it was made in the end, but it's not anywhere. It hasn't been shown. And that is another story.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, Mauricio said, who will want to see a documentary about Mauricio Saravia? I'm nobody. So he said, no, I want to do a documentary with me, but I want to give some messages in that film. I want to give messages of tolerance for diversity. I mean, trying to make people quit that judgment that, oh, he's this way or she's that way, who cares? What is inside that person? And that is what he tried to express in the production of the film. So we worked together on that, and we produced that documentary. As Mauricio had so many acquaintances and friends, and he knew so many artists in Los Angeles, some photographers came to help, and they photographed behind the scenes. And one of them, Faye Sadu, who is kind of a paparazzi or an event photographer. She knew a lot of celebrities, and she got a few celebrities for the film. And they participated because they also wanted to give those messages. Okay?
Right.
And it was something addressed to healthy people who may judge another people who isn't so much like them. And it was a message for people who have some other conditions, Mauricio's condition or any other condition. And many of them are hidden. They don't go out. They don't do anything. They are depressed. They are in psychiatrist treatments. Mauricio never saw a psychologist. And so he wanted those people to
know.
Take control of their life. Take over,
Take control.
Take control of their lives and overcome all the difficulties, all the problems that there might be in their lives, and go out and enjoy. Because that's why we are here. We are here to enjoy life.
Certainly, if we have another kind of a purpose, if we're enjoying that purpose, we're going to be a lot better at it than if we're miserable and then try to do another, whatever we see as our purpose, to help children or to do whatever whatever that could be, And
yes.
But I mean that's so beautiful. Okay, on one sense, to help people kind of accept things that they've been rejecting. That's just help normal people. But that was more like the filmmaker wanted to make that point. Mauricio might have thought that was valuable too. But I think that his main message must have been to people that face adversity. And the beauty of it is that his adversity was fully visible. And like you said, many people's adversity is invisible. And that's what I said, is that they claim that half of the Western world has a chance to have cancer. And so then that's kind of like a growth phenomena that we hide, and that really makes us retract from life. And so Mauricio is totally relevant, I see, to everybody listening to this.
Yeah.
And it says that whatever is happening, and even if it seems to be the most horrible, life is still precious, and give it all you've got.
Yes.
Even if that all even if that all is over when you're 39.
Yeah. And what I learned from him is that there must be a spiritual communication between human beings, and a mutual empathy, because in a certain way, Mauricio felt empathy for those people who judged him for how he looked. And people, he tried to let him know that they should feel empathy for how he looked. Not pity, but empathy, understanding, and try to find the person inside.
So, in other words, he had already found the person inside. That's what I said, that somehow his condition it became obvious to many, many people, and especially to him, that he wasn't the container. I call it the container,
Yeah.
the body, or even the mind. Somehow, he was a spirit that just shone through, and so that was the kind of like amazing opportunity that people could get now if they got close enough to him. And then you said, now this is all what I conjecture, but when you said that he learned how to use that, somehow he could use that ability, that he could show people that, no, this container is just, this is my body, but here I am. I'm in the heart. And then you are too, is what he's saying. You're in the heart too. And he could, and apparently those, like the beautiful girls that would dance with him and so on, they would feel it. Why else? They weren't really thinking, why should I go up to dance with that guy? I mean, there's so many things that you think about when you're dating and you're young and you're trying to figure it out. But I mean, this is probably one time when they didn't even think. They could just went by their feel. And they just thought, this is something that I want to, this is inspiring, and I want to express it too. And
he could make an impact in a lot of people. Some people are still in touch with me. They write me emails, they call me on the phone, and they say, he changed my life. He changed my way of facing life and adversity and everything. So,
well, even the worst of the worst, because you shared with me, I think 2 people at least said that they were just about to commit suicide, and when they saw him, they said, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, it was a girl in Denver, and then when we moved to Los Angeles, a few years later, he went out with a friend, and there was another guy who was ready to commit suicide that night, and he met him and changed his mind. And those people have pictures of Mauricio in their room, and they try to think of him, remember him every time they get down. It's amazing. Of course, I would prefer people to try to find God's encouragement, okay? To find the strength in God to keep on living. But everybody has a different way to find their I don't know how to express this.
Right. Well, their kind of life purpose, or what makes them go another day. And I'm not saying some people don't have any problem going another day. They just can't wait for it. And other people, it's funny what slows us down and what speeds us up. And usually it's a lot of ideas, and it's a lot of beliefs that nothing can change, and that I'm this way, and that one thing I wanted to ask about, because you said, Mauricio said that people should make a spiritual connection. And what did he mean by that? Did he ever express more depth about that?
Not exactly. I don't know how to answer that question. I know that he that's what he felt, that people should connect beyond
appearances.
The outside.
Yeah.
Beyond the outside. Okay? Beyond the body, beyond the it's very hard. Maybe you should.
Well, beyond appearances, I mean, in other words, something that he had found inside, and that he knew was inside of everybody, and he found inside everybody. He said, hey, why don't we just get together inside and forget everything? all this
Yeah,
abstractions that's going on
exactly.
outside.
It's a matter of spirit and energy. And one of his poetry books, it is called Essence. Well, in Spanish or Latin, Esencia. But in fact, the meaning is essence. And once we were talking about philosophy in life and why some people are like that and some other people are so different, talking about characters, talking about personalities, about attitudes. And he said, well, every one of us comes with something that will never change, and it's our essence. But sometimes things that happen during life may make that essence dark or cover it with some other things, and the essence is like hidden or diminished. But it's the spirit, the strength of the spirit that has to struggle against things that are not so nice while we are living, while we are growing. There are a lot of kids that are mistreated or have had terrible experiences in their childhood, and it's I don't know how to explain it, but some of them can overcome those negative experiences and enjoy life and have a productive life anyway. Some others don't.
Yeah, they don't,
Some
but we're
others,
not saying
yeah,
they can't, they don't. And then that's kind of like I started the whole conversation when I was making the introduction. I was saying we look to hear stories of other people, but we look because we want to say let that freedom be in me too. And that's the miracle of Mauricio, and that's a miracle of finding your essence and not letting it be obscured by outside events and not letting it be obscured by appearances. And
yeah,
that's what's so beautiful, that in the face of a huge appearance, to the contrary,
yeah,
beauty is what was there, and the spirit was revealed, and so many people were inspired by that, and still are inspired by it, and still will be, because there's so many things.
yeah,
I guess there's so many things you're doing that you're still getting the word out and getting the art more publicized, and getting the poetry publicized, and the music, and someday maybe that movie will get edited and come out, and many things, many more people can be inspired, and maybe get in touch with their essence and the essence of those that are that they're related to, their relationships.
yes, yes. And he wanted to let people know about all that. I think that's his mission, to transmit that energy that was inside him to other people. And a lot of people felt that when they were with him. And nobody was down when they were with him.
Fantastic. Marisa, is that your mission now?
Well, my mission is to let more and more people know about Mauricio. That's my mission, because even I promised him when in his last days, I said that I was going to help him. Also, an art dealer, an art collector, the owner of a non-profit organization that helps foster kids, Alicia de Meneses, of Seidler, Alicia Seidler, and her husband. They want to help me now, because they say Mauricio's story needs to be told, and needs to be known by everybody, because it's an energy injection. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my, if he could do that, I can do something too. And it's inspiring. That's what they say. So we are working on that. I'm trying to get a record label company who would like to release his music CD. And well, I keep on working. I am already old. I'm aging.
I wouldn't say so, anyhow. But just think of Mauricio, you know, even in the face of adversity.
But I don't think of that.
Yeah.
I don't think that I have Mauricio's mission was passed to me, so I have his mission in my hands now.
So you're also writing. You're writing his biography, right?
I am writing his biography. That is the most difficult thing I have done in my life, because you say, oh well, you don't have to invent or create anything because it's not fiction, it's reality, it's your reality. Yes, but anyway, it's so hard to put it into words, you know, it's so hard to make people understand through my words everything we went through. Because in his case, it was not only the physical pain, the emotional pain, but we weren't rich either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were struggling for the money too. We were working. So he had to paint when he had some extra time after finishing the work. So it was hard. It was very hard.
So I can see what you're saying, because you want to tell people that there was struggle, and that you know, that things became overcome, that you were able to overcome it. But in the meantime, I heard, you know, when we talked before, you said, for sure, I don't want to make this into a sad story, because that's not the point. And really, the joy of it was so much more important than the sadness or the pain of it. And then how to make that story and how to write it in a way where that becomes the obvious.
Yes, that's right. I want to tell everything we went through, but I don't want to make it a sad story. I want to make it a story of overcoming all kinds of limitations, all kinds of troubles, and even though enjoy life. You know?
It's kind of all we have, even if we're rich or even if we're poor, all we have is our own enjoyment. And if we're enjoying that life with the richness or with poorness, with health or with illness, and with tragedy, you know, and or however, somehow we have to enjoy what we have, because that's our only shot at doing it, you know. And it's a hugely valuable message, and very interesting speaking with you.
Oh, thank you very much, Richard. I don't know if I was, if I could explain myself very well, because of my English is my second language, and but it was a pleasure to meet you via Skype and be able to talk with you about my son. Yeah.
Thank you very much. If anything, I just regret that I wasn't around. I didn't know you 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, when Mauricio was available.
Yeah.
And also really see that, because with me, I would say the same thing. Sometimes things hit me on the head really hard, and then finally I wake up to it, And I think it takes sometimes an exaggeration of either a tragedy or some kind of, like, what you call injustice, or you might feel that's not just, that one child is beautiful and one has to start beautiful and then degrade. What's the point? But I mean, the point was proven. It was the point that wasn't me,
Mm-hmm.
And that is invaluable.
And that his essence from birth, it was still there and shining. And I don't know, it was his real Mauricio. The real Mauricio was inside. Now, Bruce Hall found him with handsome features. He said to me, well, if it weren't for the medical syndrome that changed him, you could see that his features were very nice. And I say, well, not everybody has that ability to see through. I can see that. I could see that because I am his mother and I loved him. And anyway, it doesn't matter for me how much he changed his looks. I was happy with him, and I never regretted, even there is I don't want to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
I want to buy the book then.
No, but that'll be great. We really thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you very much for inviting me. A pleasure.
And thank you, everybody, for watching another episode of Never Not Here. So just keep watching. We'll be coming up with you would be next. So give a call and come on and tell us what's happening in your life. So thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye, Richard.